all are doing fantastically well today. Have you ever wanted to know how to read people better as a woman in leadership, or if you are in any leadership role? This is something that a lot of people want to learn how to do. They want to understand, how can I really understand what people are thinking? Well, of course, we may not necessarily know everything that someone's thinking, but there are subtle cues that you can pick up on as a leader that will give you more insight in terms of what is going on. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I'm going to do this as an overview to see if there's some interest in it. If you want me to talk more about this specific topic, then feel free to put it in the comments below and let me know. I'll be happy to talk more about it, but I want to provide you with some insight in terms of how I've been able to master this and be very successful in it, that has allowed me to develop my clients into amazing leaders. So I'm going to start off with why this is an important skill that you need to have as a leader. And then I'm going to share with you two scenarios or type of questions that you want to ask that will help you to start reading people a bit better. And at the very end of this video, excuse me, I'm going to share with you I would say a bonus, but it's actually my very, 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 very favorite thing that I do to read people as a leader. And people talk about this on YouTube some, but if you're watching my channel or you're subscribed to my channel, you should know, hopefully by now, that I'm going to give you not just theory, because there is theory out there, but I'm going to give you what actually happens in reality. And I have found that this one aspect of reading people better that I have done has helped me out tremendously, and I guarantee it will help you out too. It is something that is maybe a bit more advanced, I would say, but if you're watching this channel and maybe you're at the beginning of your career as a woman in leadership, or you are an executive already, these are skills that you are going to want to be able to master. So stay tuned to the end so you can see my very favorite, very, very favorite technique and strategy that I use to help read people better. I mentioned at the beginning, how many of you want to read people better and know what's going on? You need to know this as a leader. One of the things that people fail to remember or think about when it comes to being a leader is that the leaders know quite a bit. They know a lot more than people will give them credit for. And if you have a very good leader, they will know a lot more than you ever thought they would know, but they may not necessarily mention it. So the first thing you want to remember or keep in mind is that when you are trying to do this, this is something that's challenging. So before I go into how you can read people better, I want to say hello to those of you who are joining. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here today. If you have any questions as it relates to learning how to read people better as a leader, this is the place you want to be today, because I'm going to share with you over 20 years of experience that will fast track your growth. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you feel like the information is helping you as you were listening. So I want to say hello to Caleb's. We have Alex, and we have Yosbel. Hello, hello. Love, 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 love. Okay, love is here also. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliments and glad you all are here today. Let me know what questions you have about learning how to read people, because I'm here to help you. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about why this is important. So we have one other person, Yesenia. Hello, welcome, welcome. I appreciate y'all for being here. And Yosbel, I love this channel already. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome. Well, glad that you're here today. I'm really here to support you on your journey. So if you have any questions as it relates to leadership development, your confidence, executive presence, and mastering those higher level communication skills so you can communicate at a higher level than your peers, you are at the right place. So let me know if you have any questions whatsoever that are related to professional topics, and I will be able to answer them for you. So why it's important for you to learn how to read people better. Leaders need to know this. And long stream, okay, someone asked the question, how long will you stream? I'm actually going to probably do it I usually live stream for about 15 minutes or so. It just depends on the number of questions that I have, but it just depends on the engagement I get from the audience, and we'll go from there. But one of the things that happens often with leaders is that you have to know a lot, and you have to be able to pick up on cues from people very quickly. When you are in that leadership type of role, sometimes people will not tell you what they want to say, but their body and their gestures will tell you what they want to say, but they may not want to say it. So it's very important as a leader for you to pay very close attention to how people are communicating with you and what they are doing overall. That means, how is their tone of voice? What are their nonverbal gestures? Are they scratching their head? Are they rubbing their head? Are they scratching their arm? Are they messing with a pen? Are they looking away? What are they doing? What are the leaders doing? And so, what you want to do when you're learning how to read people better in a workplace setting is to help you be able to master that. So, there's a question about what is this about? So, this is going to be a topic in terms of how do you read people better as a leader, because this is something that leaders need to learn how to do so that they can truly start to elevate themselves as leaders and know what's going on and showcase their leadership skills. Now, when you're doing things like that, when you're observing people, seeing exactly what they're doing, it gives you some insight in terms of what their mind is saying, but what their body is saying that their mind does not want to say or their mouth does not want to say. And so there's two scenarios that I typically do, and I've shared with my clients to do, that you want to read people better in, and you want to ask a specific question. So one of the questions you may want to ask is a topic that you truly do not know anything about. So if you know nothing about this topic and you really need some additional insight on it, then ask a question specifically as this topic. So for instance, if you have something that came up and you want to talk about it, you could say, well, I really don't know anything about this topic. What are your thoughts on it? And just look for that immediate reaction in terms of what they say. Because remember, people's body will say what they do not want to say. You have to be very observant in terms of what that is as a leader so you know what's going on. Now, if you're working with someone that is already at an executive level, that is already at that very high leadership level, they probably can control their body gestures, and you may have to work a little bit harder, which I'll share with you in a moment, to try to get some type of information and learn more about what they're thinking in their head. But I'll share that with you in just a moment. So one, you want to ask specifically, can you do this? And the first response typically that people make, you want to look at their eyes, because the eyes tell so much. They'll tell you if someone's interested. They'll tell you if someone is completely disinterested, or they will show you that someone is just not really paying attention, like whatsoever. And so you want to be able to pay attention to how they are speaking and what their eyes are doing when you ask a question that you want to learn more insight about. Now, the second scenario I want to share with you is if you already have a small amount of insight in a situation. Let's say something happened at your workplace as a leader and you know about it, you have some knowledge about it, but you need to get some additional information. So if you already have some knowledge about it, then you have some information, but you need to get more. So that's another scenario where you already are coming in knowing some information, something happened, and then you're asking to see, well, what else can they tell me? Or what else do I maybe need to consider in this situation? So specifically in this question that you could ask somebody, and remember, the key is to look at their response and see how they're responding. So the first is to say, I heard about this situation that happened earlier today in terms of this happened to the client. Do you know what happened? Have you heard anything differently? Watch how they respond, because they will let you know if they're going to tell you what actually happened or if they're not going to tell you anything at all. This is something that I've found to be very, very successful when I'm talking to different individuals, and especially as a C-suite executive. There are certain ways that we try to communicate with our team to understand like what's going on, even if we have some knowledge. So if you have some insight in terms of a situation and you need to know more, ask the person about it. And most of the time they will tell you what's going on, or if they don't, their body language will tell you exactly what's going on or what they may want to say and may not want to say. Now, if you're working with somebody that has been in an executive role for an extended amount of time and they are very controlled with their gestures and they know exactly how to conduct themselves and really develop that executive presence, then the best way to get information from them is to do the following. You may have to ask a question that is a bit unexpected or something that you normally would not ask. It could be something that's completely off the wall, but the purpose of doing that is to see what their reaction is, because they may be taken aback and say, "Oh, wow, I don't know about the answer to that. What is that?" So they may be caught off guard, and that catching off guard, you sometimes strategically need to use that in how you communicate to other people. It is not going to make you sound silly, but it's actually a way for you to learn more information and be able to read people better, because you have to leverage different types of communication styles and communication strategies to help you be able to read people better. And I mean, that's something that you're going to want to do, because you may know something that's happening within an office and no one has said anything to you about it. This happens all the time. And if you follow these strategies in terms of understanding that you do need to learn how to read people better as a leader, and then the second part of it is knowing the scenarios when you need to ask. You may have no insight on a situation, so you want to ask that question. If not, watch the replay. And then the second scenario would be to know that you have some insight, but that small amount of insight you have is not enough. And so you want to ask that person, what else do they know, or have they observed anything else? Those are great ways to get some information and helps you to read people better. I'm telling you, people's body language will say what they will not want to say. This is so important, and I can't stress this enough. If you want to learn how to read people, you want to understand what's going on without people verbally telling you, because oftentimes as a leader, people don't want to tell you because you're already in a level that's higher than them. And sometimes people feel like they just are not comfortable having that conversation with you because you are the leader. But if you ask the questions in the right way and communicate in the right way, you'll find out the information that you need to know. You will. Now, I told you I was going to share with you a bonus. This is my favorite thing that I like to do as it relates to learning how to read people better, that's helped me as a C-suite executive and a director and a manager over the past 20 years. Are you ready? So I wanted to share this with you, but before I do, I want to say hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. Thank you so much for joining. And let's see, Adam, say hello. Okay, fantastic. So there's a couple things going on. It's like taking a lie detector. Yes, somewhat it's like that. Of course, lie detector detection devices are, a bit more sophisticated because they're measuring, how you're responding, your perspiration, your heart rate, and all of those type of things. But it is a great way for you to be able to get a sense of what is going on in this person's mind, because the reaction, and if you don't remember anything else that I mentioned in this live video on how to read people as a leader, is that people's body language will tell you what they are not willing to say. Keep that in mind, because this is a great way for you to enhance your leadership skills and know exactly what's going on and be able to manage it accordingly. Now, the bonus I mentioned to you, this is my favorite thing that I like to do when it comes to reading people and understanding what's going on in the workplace dynamic or within your business or etc. I like to observe. And when I mean observe, we talked a bit about it when people are responding. You want to look at their eyes, you want to look at their nonverbal gestures, see what they're doing, and etc. But specifically, what I mean observe is that I observe and I just stay quiet. I don't say anything just yet. I do want to say hello to LP 2013. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Glad to see you again. Talking about how to read people. There's a couple of things I talked about in the replay. I'll go over them in just a moment, just to give you a recap. But I like to observe. I will observe people and I will say nothing, because there's times where you may observe something that really makes you mad, and you may think, I cannot believe that they are thinking this way or acting this way. But I found that the way to not only read people better, but also to help establish your executive presence is to be silent sometimes. Sometimes you just need to say nothing. Even though you know information, you can know a lot of information, but you don't necessarily need to talk about it to anybody specifically. It is information just for you to know in your head. So when those times come up, when those scenarios come up where you feel like, okay, I need to make a decision, then you have all the data in place that you have in your mind to know that I need to make a decision based off of I saw this, I saw this, I saw this, and that too. That's what I like to do. I like to observe, and it's very difficult to do, especially if it's an emotionally charged situation or it's a contentious situation that's happening. It's hard to just stay quiet because just as people don't want to have their egos crushed. They don't want to have people being mean to them. They don't want to have people acting unfriendly. Now, there's situations where if someone is being disrespectful to you, you need to give them a conversation and definitely correct that very fast. And that's in a whole nother video we can talk about. But I do want to say that sometimes some information, some situations you don't need to say anything about. You'll have to make that determination and that discernment to know exactly what it is you need to talk about and what are your boundaries. So for me personally, if this is my boundaries. So most of the time I will observe and watch. Now I've been at a executive level for forever. And I know when things are really important and I know when things are not that important. So I have that discernment to know, okay, I should probably say something or I'm not worried about that because I'm not even going to stoop down to that ridiculous level. But what I do personally is for me, if someone is disrespectful, that's a no. That's an absolute no. I will have a conversation with you about it or have something to say about it. That's my threshold. If I feel like you're being disrespectful or being condescending, I'm not tolerating that. By no means, no. There's no way I'm going to be silent or quiet about that. There's a conversation. I may not say it immediately because I like to think through what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it so that we can make sure we're at an understanding and it never, ever happens again. That's part of developing your executive presence. But I'll develop what I want to say and then have that conversation. So you have to know what it is specifically for you that is your non-negotiable. This happens. This is something I need to talk about. Everything else, maybe scenarios where you might want to just wait and see how things play out. It could have been someone had an off day, not necessarily being disrespectful. Now, that's completely different. But I mean, in terms of specifically asking about what could happen when you're trying to figure out, should you say something, should you not? Somebody could be having an off day. And so you have to give people grace. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. Most people are not perfect. And so we all have off days sometimes where things don't necessarily work out. If you are developing your executive presence, your off days are not as many because you have trained yourself how to really showcase your executive presence and present yourself as that same consistent person all the time. Now, if there's something that you want to get some support on and be able to develop that consistency that comes up with being a leader and developing your executive presence, especially if you're a woman in leadership, then this is a great opportunity for you to subscribe to the channel, learn as much information as you can from my over 20 years of experience in this particular industry and being able to develop an executive presence. If you have specific questions, then feel free to contact me at info@exciteexcellence.org and we can talk about your situation and we can talk about ways to really enhance how you communicate and your executive presence. So that is some information that can help you. I'm also going to put in the description below another video here on my channel that talks specifically about judging people better. It is a video that I've already had posted before, and this goes more into the physical aspects of judging people better in terms of looking at their body language and etc. But today I wanted to just give you an overview as to how you can strategically use the way that you communicate and the questions that you ask to observe and read people better. So for those of you who are just joining, hello, welcome. Thank you for being here today. I have just went over how to read people better as a leader. And I'm going to go over the summary for those of you who have joined very quickly. The first thing you want to do to read people better as a leader is to consider a couple of questions or scenarios that you want to ask to learn more information. There's one scenario where if you ask a question in this specific way, if you already have some knowledge, then you can ask that question and be able to get more information from the person. Or if you have no insight in the situation that happened, then ask a question and they'll be able to give you some insight. Just make sure you are observing their eyes, their body language, how they're responding, because that will tell you a lot in terms of what they may not want to say, but they feel like they are thinking in their mind. The second thing that we talked about, and in terms of how to read people better, is to observe. And I mentioned to you my favorite thing that I like to do to read people better is to observe and stay quiet. There's certain situations where you need to say something. If someone is being rude, if they're being disrespectful, if they're being condescending, then you automatically need to handle that quickly, very quickly. However, there's a lot of things that you can pick up by just observing people and seeing how they act, seeing how they respond, and just take those scenarios, those situations as mental notes. So when it's time for you to make that big decision, whatever that decision is, you already know in your mind that these are the things that I have seen, I have observed for myself, and I know based off of what I have seen collectively, this is the best decision for me to make. Now, these are skills that people do not teach you in a educational setting. They are not teaching you this in a book. These are real life, real world skills that I'm sharing with you to help the people that are following my channel or watching some of the videos I have here on YouTube or on other platforms I'm on, to really understand that there is a certain aspect of leadership that is theoretical, where you're going to learn a lot of theory and you're going to learn a lot of different things. But then there's the other aspect of leadership that is what happens in the real world. And if you want to know what happens in the real world, this is the place to be, because I'm going to give you real world advice, real world scenarios, and real world guidance on how to manage them. So if you have any questions that come up for you as you're watching the live video, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them for you and just help you any way that I can on your journey. I do want to share with you that I have some very exciting events coming up very soon. I have a consultation session that is coming up. I don't want to share all the details just yet until I get everything finalized, but hopefully I'll have it either finalized today or have it finalized tomorrow, hopefully today, so that when I'm going live with you tomorrow, I can talk to you a bit more about how I can help you fast track your success as a woman in leadership, in a leadership role, so that you can do the amazing things you want to do. So I'm going to share that with you. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have some links for you to join. It's going to be a very exclusive session where you have one-on-one access to me to ask me any questions or any challenges that you're having right now as a woman in leadership. There's a wealth of topics. We'll talk about salary negotiation, interview preparation, office politics, promotions, advancing in your career, backstabbing, undermining at work, problems with employees, how do you build your team? I could go on and on and on and talk about the many things that we can talk about during a one-on-one consultation session. So it will be in a group format, but I will release that information to you hopefully tomorrow when I come back and see you at the next live. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to let me know. I'm really here to support you all on your journey. And if you have any questions whatsoever about leadership, confidence, the executive presence, and communicating at that higher level than your peers, then let me know. I'll help you out as best I can. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. And don't forget to check out the video that talks about judging people better. That will be a great complement to the video that you're watching now. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.